Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius. It is the Pewter Postgame Show where we are going to talk about what was an absolute debacle of a performance put on by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers today as they got blasted by Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers to the tune of 35-7. Scott, this game was over in the first half. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is my co-host and the face that runs the place at PewterReport.com, Scott Reynolds. Scott, this was abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. And in my opinion, their worst game of the season. In a season where they've had some really bad losses, This was the most pitiful out of all of them.
It was. I honestly think the Carolina game was worse just because Carolina wasn't good at that point in time. That 21-3 loss was inexcusable. The 49ers are a good team. And actually, look out. The Steve Wilkes Carolina Panthers are becoming
going to win the division.
Decent team. Yeah, they very well could win the division. It's going to come down to the Buccaneers playing their last two games at home against Carolina and then on the road against the Falcons for the division title in this absolute crap fest, which is the NFC South. But Todd Bowles said it. This is a team, the Buccaneers, that got their ass kicked on defense, ass kicked on offense. And as Tom Brady says, in this business, you either kick ass or you get your ass kicked. And this was an ass kicking today by the 49ers. And you know, and then a lot of people are going to say, Brock Purdy, beat Tom Brady. And that's a fact. It happened. It did. And if you read Bailey Adams' story about Todd Bowles and the Bucs defense, and it even goes back further from Bowles. This is a franchise historically that has led bad quarterbacks and backup quarterbacks, even when Monty Kiffin was the defensive coordinator, have their way against the Buccaneers. It's kind of sickening. It's a sick, twisted fact that a lot of old-time Bucs fans know far too well. But this is a system. The 49ers have a system.
It's quarterback proof. It is quarterback proof.
Josh Johnson at the end of the game ran it, to perfection. It's a good system, and they've got some talent. They even lost Deebo Samuel during the game, but they've got enough talent. When you look at, and he wasn't a huge contributor today, but George Kittle, right, is a player that can just step up and make some plays. Christian McCaffrey, we've seen what can happen when Christian McCaffrey is healthy, first of all, and then running behind a good offensive line like the 49ers rather than a bad offensive line, which he had for so many years in Carolina. And you combine that with a great performance by McCaffrey and an absolute crappy performance by the Bucs defense, and this is what you get. And I think that football is a game of momentum. And I'm telling you this, I'm not trying to make excuses for this team. I know this team has Tom Brady, and I know that there's enough weapons to play better offensively than what they are right now. But the margin for error on this Buccaneer team is razor thin. It's been razor thin the entire season. We saw that back in week 2 against the New Orleans Saints when it was a 3-3 game, Matt, until they started getting takeaways, and then Rashad Perriman, of all people, caught a touchdown pass, and then you had a Mike Edwards pick 6. And the comeback win against a bad Rams team, the comeback win against a bad Saints team last week. The margin for error with this Buccaneer team is slim. And when you drop a wide open touchdown pass in Carolina, like Mike Evans did, and you've got a holding penalty against Donovan Smith, who's playing absolutely bad football right now, that takes a touchdown off the board that would have tied this game at 7-7. It's momentum killing.
Yeah.
Momentum is real. Tom Brady even said it. I know that there's some analytics people out there that can't measure it, so they kind of ignore it. But it's a real thing. Football is an emotional game, and who knows what happens in Carolina if the Buccaneers jump out 7-0. Who knows what happens in this game if it's 7-7, right? We're not going to know. We're not going to find out. Both of those were really, really bad losses by this Buccaneer team. But my point is, Matt, is whether it's a Keanu Neal penalty on the first play of the game, right, that takes momentum away from the defense, or Donovan Smith's holding penalty that takes off a second touchdown off the board in as many weeks, momentum just makes that razor thin margin for error just poof. and it puts the Buccaneers behind the 8 ball in this case, on both sides of the ball.
Scott, you couldn't be more accurate. I was going to say, I mean, you mentioned razor thin, margin for error being very small. There's so many points in this game that you could turn to and say, if things went the Bucs' way on this specific play, they're right in it. I mean, the first play of the game, as you mentioned, Keanu, Neal makes the hit just a little bit lower. Big play by the Bucs. Start out with the sack. They got Brock Purdy's number. Hey, let's remember, the 49ers scored on that opening drive. So that changes it right there. The holding penalty on Donovan Smith on Mike Evans' touchdown, again, changes everything. How about, and I agree with the Bucs going for it on 4th down when Brady, and this was a bad throw by Tom Brady. Unless there's miscommunication and Brady thought Evans was supposed to stay in a spot in the end zone. The throw to Mike Evans on 4th down was a bad throw. Evans was open. You could see it as soon as he got open.
Oh, yeah.
But you got to think, if he scores that, it's 21-7, and the Bucs are getting the ball at halftime. But again, small margin of error. Anthony Nelson gets an interception, and this was a bad call by the refs.
Horrible
the refs
call.
Had a terrible game. They called a holding on Carlton Davis when it really looked like Jawan Jennings, I believe, was the receiver. That he slipped. That negates the penalty.
And Carlton pushed him down, and you've got 5 yards. You can pretty much mug the guy. You can do anything but literally hold him. And he wasn't holding him. He took his shoulder as he was slipping and pushed him down, which is the right thing to do.
Literally the next play, it's a wide open touchdown to Brandon Ayuk. So you go from getting an interception, and you're only going to be down 21-0, which for the Bucs would still be a huge hill to climb. But at least you're still like, hey, we get the ball at halftime. We score on the opening drive. You never know what can happen. The game was done there. 28-0, absolutely done. So you're looking at a possibility where, sure, Bucs score a touchdown, they kick it off, and it's a little bit different. The Bucs could have been down 21-14 at halftime, and you have yourselves a ball game going into the second half. But and listen, the refs were bad, but it's not an excuse for the way that the Bucs played. I mean, you go down 28-0. We've said in the past, when the Bucs went up against Trevor Siemian and Taylor Heineke last season, the Bucs made those quarterbacks look like Pro Bowl quarterbacks. Well, Brock Purdy looked like an all-pro the way that he was slinging it. He looked comfortable. Outside of that blitz to Keanu Neal on the first play, no one was getting remotely close to Brock Purdy. He was having fun. He was cool, calm, collected. He was dropping dimes. The Christian McCaffrey on the touchdown. Close play. Looked like he bobbled it, but great pass. He hit the wide open guy when Tom Brady had wide open guys, and Tom just missed him. Whether it was Scotty Miller, who was 2 steps ahead of his defender on that deep ball to him, whether it was, I think there was a play to Julio. I wrote it down. Yeah, there's a play to Julio where Julio had his guy beat, and it was just a bad throw. And then the lack of in syncness with Mike Evans still rears its ugly head to the point that they're now chirping at each other on the sidelines. So, I mean, it went from bad to worse in this game. They were bad on offense. They were bad on defense. Yeah.
If I was Mike Evans, and I think that chirping that was caught on the Fox cameras happened before that touch, or the what should have been a touchdown on the 4th down. I could be wrong, but as Brady said, that was a shitty throw. He even said that. My exact quote was, his exact quote was, "It was a shitty throw by me," and it was. And as a result, he's pressing too hard. Evans he and Evans are not on the same page, and I can't understand for the life of me.
It makes no sense
because these two have played together for 2 years. So
it makes no sense.
I'm not sure what's happening there. And listen, I'm seeing a lot of things here about fire by Iron Levitch and all that. That's not happening. Todd Bowles said it, and I will. Let's see here. Did we lose Matt? There we go.
Yeah, you were breaking up a little bit. I don't know if it was my end or I'm
Matt,
here. Can you hear me? Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. All right. Let me quote here. When asked about making changes to the coaching staff, he says, "We always tweak some things. It's way too late in the season to flat out change." Matt, are you there?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm having some internet issues here at my house.
Hey, that's all right.
But this is what Todd Bowles. I was just
Yeah.
going to say this real quick. This is what Todd Bowles said about Byron Leftwich. He says, we always tweak some things, but it's way too late in the season to flat out change systems in place. But you can coach it better and you can play it better anytime you win. It's coaching and playing together. Anytime you lose, it's coaching. What is that?
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of people on the game day stream today that were talking about they got to fire Bowles and Leftwich, and they got to get rid of Leftwich. It's just not going to happen this late in the season. It's this is the ship that they're essentially going down with. No pun intended to the big pirate ship at Raymond James Stadium, but this is inevitably what they're going with. They can't make changes at this point. It would be too erroneous to get into, even as bad as the Bucs have been across the board. I see a couple super chats. We're going to get to that in a moment, but first, let's talk about our friends over at Celsius, the presenting sponsor of the Pewter Report podcast. We love Celsius for so many different reasons, starting off with the variety of flavors that they have. You see the Arctic peach and tropical vibes on the screen there. They have a ton of other flavors, from the sparkling wild berry to the original orange to the watermelon to the cucumber lime flavor, the cola. I'm also rocking a watermelon berry flavor right now, which I desperately needed to get through this live stream. Not that I didn't have fun in the live stream, but it does kind of sap your energy a little bit when the Bucs go down 28-0 and the game is done before it can even get going. So variety of flavors for Celsius. 7 essential vitamins is the key. It's the healthy version of an energy drink. 0 sugar or preservatives, so you don't get that post-energy drink crash that you might get with some other products. Go to the Celsius store locator on their website. Find out where you can get one near you. It's your local Walmart, Target, convenience store, bodega, whatever it is.
Bodega.
And bodega. And if you want to get them in bulk, you can do that too. You can do the subscribe and save over on Amazon. Get them in bulk. I'd recommend getting the variety pack, because variety is the spice of life, and have it set up every 1, 2, or 3 weeks to have it sent to your house or apartment. Your choice. Totally up to you. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius energy drinks, the official sponsor of the Pewter Report podcast. That's hashtag Celsius Live Fit, hashtag Celsius Energy. So we got a couple super chats to get into. Appreciate everyone that has given us the super chats. Got a ton of comments in here, which is absolutely awesome. Sometimes it's tough to navigate through them to find those super chats.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Pewter people.
Yeah,
hanging in there.
Absolutely. Rocking with us on a Sunday night. And if you do super chat us, you get to cut the line. We will put your comment up right away. So Brian Shaw, thank you for the $5 super chat. Brady looked like he wanted to cry at the post-game conference. Some people don't want to hear it, but Brady's arm has gotten worse and worse. Injury. So to Brady crying or, his being upset, he's kind of like that after every loss. I wouldn't necessarily narrow it down to just this game. Obviously, it doesn't help when you're in your own hometown, you're playing in front of friends and family, and the game was as bad as it was. As far as the injury thing, I mean, we saw he hit his hand on the helmet of a 49ers player. Overall, he has the arm strength. He's just been inaccurate. I'm sure he's not playing 100%, but to the point where it's affecting everything that he's doing, I don't necessarily know about that one. What would you say, Scott?
Well, I mean, some of those passes were underthrown, right? He had Scotty Miller open down the field, and that was underthrown. He also had Julio Jones, who was open down the field, and he was underthrown as well. So I think that there are some concerns with the deep ball. He's just been inaccurate this season. They're having a couple of them, like the Mike Edwards. That was, the Mike Evans. That was fine. He hit him in stride. It was a touchdown, if not for the Donovan Smith penalty. But it's been really scattershot. Brady was more accurate down the field in 2020 and also 2021. Listen, at the same time, the guy's 45 years old. Matt, he put up 55 passes today. I think it was the 7th or 8th most passes he's ever thrown in a game in his career. That's way too many passes. And as Brady even said, once it becomes, a pass fest as he said in his post-game press conference, it's just easier to defend. And he's also taken some chances too, right? I mean, he's just letting it fly and hoping and praying at this point in time. When you're down by that many points, you're just going to be throwing it into the wind a little bit. And it was raining at the end of the game. I'm not making excuses for the guy. He played awful. This was not a good game by Tom Brady whatsoever. His only touchdown was a fluke.
It went off of Chris Godwin, and Russell Gage caught it. So
I'm not making apologies or excuses for Tom Brady. He did hit his hand. It was raining at the end of the game. He had some flat out misses too. The shittiest throw of the game was the one where he missed Mike Evans for what should have been a touchdown on 4th down when they got in the red zone there. But that's just how it's been this year. This is an offense especially that has a razor thin margin of talent. This is the same playbook that they've run the last 2 years. Byron Leftwich is not making many adjustments. Matter of fact, we saw the same stupid ass wide receiver screens that almost got pick sixed. And honestly, I hope one of these get pick sixed. I really do. Because I can't wait to ask Byron Leftwich, hey, can you shelve the wide receiver screen maybe for the last 3 or 4 games of the year? You've only thrown it maybe 60 to 70 times, maybe even more this season. And it's just becoming so predictable. And it's not effective. What does he get? 3 yards?
Exactly.
I mean, run the ball with Rachaad White. He's getting more than 3 yards a carry.
You know what the problem is, Scott? And first of all, shout out to Dalton G for the $4.99 super chat. Kind of goes with the same with our previous one, but thank you. Don't think Brady is washed, just can't carry. Team can't seem to carry the team, he's saying. Team can't seem to overcome these penalties or missed opportunities. But to your point about Chris Godwin, like he made a nice play down the field on like a 20-yard reception over the middle. And that's like the vintage Chris Godwin. And, we talk about, he's great with the yards after the catch. I was talking about this earlier with Josh Capo on the pregame show. Chris Godwin was great at the yards after the catch, when he was making the reception 15 to 20 yards down the field, and then he's juking the defender or a couple of defensive backs. It doesn't work the same when you're getting the screen at the line of scrimmage and you have linebackers and multiple defensive backs and D linemen running at you. It seems like the Bucs and Byron Leftwich decided, Chris, you're good at yards after the catch before your injury and still after your injury, that we're just going to give it to you like a hot potato. Like, Chris, okay, do something with it. Like at the line of scrimmage. That's not how it works, especially for Chris Godwin. He makes the play down the field and he goes even further than that. But just giving him the stupid screen at the line of scrimmage, and they don't even like, the best part about a screen is that you don't see it coming. It's disguised. It happens every now and then. They run it on their first series, and then they run it on the next series, and the next series, and the next series. That takes away. Part of the screen game is the element of surprise. You think, I got a good pass rush here. No. When it happens 6-7 times in a game, and it's the same type of screen, you know it's coming. There's nothing special about the screen at all.
Yeah. This is a question here by Orlando. Why is Light not forcing a change at this time? A change anywhere is needed. You're so late into the season. First of all, you're not going to fire Todd Bowles right now. It's not going to happen. I would suspect, unless the Buccaneers go 0-4 down the stretch, that Bowles comes back for next year with the new offensive coordinator. I'm not going to report that the Buccaneers are going to fire Byron Leftwich, but I'm going to pretty much tell you that I have a strong hunch that Byron Leftwich is not going to be back next year, nor will some of these offensive coaches. And I think that Bowles will get an opportunity to hire a new offensive coordinator. I think Jay probably should have some input in that. I wouldn't necessarily try all of that on Todd Bowles. But the thing is this, I think when you look at this offensive coaching staff, remember, Todd Bowles inherited this coaching staff. This is Bruce Arians' coaching staff. And why isn't it not working now right now? Why aren't they scoring 30 points per game? Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, and they're down Tristan Wirfs, Ali Marpet, and Ryan Jensen, right? That's 5 out of 6 offensive starters, right, from last year and from 2020 when they won the Super Bowl. That's nearly half, okay? And then you've got Donovan Smith, who's not playing well. You've got Mike Evans, who's not playing well. And Tom Brady, who's not playing as well as he did. And Chris Godwin coming back from an injury. This offense is not the same as it was the last 2 years. The problem, though, is, Matt, is Byron Leftwich is trying to run the same offense thinking that he has Rob Gronkowski and Antonio Brown. And folks, listen, I've had it confirmed by people with the organization. The Buccaneers simply out-talented people. When you've got the greatest quarterback in the history of the game that can spot the mismatch and know where he wants to go with the ball pre-snap based upon personnel and the coverage, right? The pre-snap read, okay? And you've got Mike Evans, a future Hall of Famer, in Rob Gronkowski, a $20 million wide receiver in Chris Godwin, who's made a Pro Bowl and been over 1,000 yards, and a Pro Bowl caliber wide receiver who's a jackass in Antonio Brown. Who are you going to double cover? One or two of those guys is going to have an extremely favorable one-on-one. Okay. And you've got an offensive line with the better playing Donovan Smith and Alex Kappa at right guard, who cashed in Cincinnati in free agency, in 3 Pro Bowlers are the other guys. Tom Brady had time to throw and he could find the open guy. Okay. And again, half of those guys over the last 2 years in the starting offensive lineup are gone. And the Buccaneers can no longer out-talent people on offense. And you have an offensive coordinator that simply can't adapt because he has tunnel vision on this Arians playbook, because that's all he's known. He grew up in it in Pittsburgh when he was a backup. Yeah. He coached it in Arizona. He's coached it here in Tampa. That's all he knows. And so he's not reacting to what is happening out there defensively. He's simply just dialing up plays. He's looking at plays and picking up plays. And that's why you're seeing this offense stall and not be successful, because he can't make any adjustments, because honestly, he's a fraud. He is.
I totally agree with what you're saying. I get what you're saying. With all the missing talent this year, everyone that you rattled off, I still don't think at this point in December it's enough of an excuse. This team is still talented enough to play way better than what they're playing, because as we talked about like 2 weeks ago, the Bucs offense just has to be run of the mill. Like, they don't even have to be great right now.
Just score 22 points. Just be 16th in the league.
The past 2 weeks, they have looked inept, with the exception of 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter against the Saints on Monday Night Football. Besides that, they have looked absolutely inept. I want to get to a couple of super chats, so thank you, Kat. I'll answer that question in a second. There's a comment from Nate that I had up for a little bit about don't coaches get fired at this point in the season? Well, here's the difference. Coaches either get fired early in the year when a team is underperforming, kind of like the Panthers, and you think you might have enough time to turn it around, or in the Panthers, just continue to tank, but openly, show it to the world, but they're actually completely overperforming. Or you fire a coach with like a game or two left in the season when you're completely out of the playoffs and you're playing for a draft pick. Yeah. The Bucs are in the unique situation where they're still in the race for the division, despite having a record that's under 500. So that's why none of the coaches are getting fired. Cat and Max here, thank you for the $2 super chat. Do we even think the Bucs will finish above 500? Well, let's see. Their games to close out the season are the Bengals, the Cardinals, and then the Panthers and the Falcons. I forget if it's Panthers-Falcons or Falcons-Panthers, but either way, that's how they finish the season. I definitely don't think they're beating the Panthers next week. The Cardinals, I think, is the last game on that schedule that I legitimately think, okay, the Bucs can win this. I don't know if I'm picking them against the Panthers, and I don't know if I'm picking them against the Falcons the way that they have looked. So can they end the season above 500? Yes. But, I mean, we're looking next week, they're going to be 2 games probably below 500, and you have to win 2 of them just to be at 500. So to answer your question, no, I don't really see it.
I don't either. I think the winner of this division is going to be 8-9. I think that's how it's going to end up shaking out. And it might be the Buccaneers, but they have to go 2-2 down the stretch. And honestly, if you're Tampa Bay, you want those wins to be against Carolina and the Falcons to pretty much assure them of that. But yeah, I don't know. I listen, if you listen to me, I thought the Buccaneers were going to win this game by a point.
Yeah.
And who knows what would have happened if some of those momentum changing plays would have occurred earlier in this game. But everything, including some of the calls later in the game, like that Carlton Davis ridiculous holding penalty that negated the Anthony Nelson interception, just everything just snowballed on the Buccaneers. And as Todd Bowles accurately said after the game, the Buccaneers were facing the 49ers and the Bucs today, and you can't beat both teams.
No, you can't. Appreciate and thank you to Tanner James Gauff for the $5 super chat. That game costs $200 per ticket to attend, and I'm cold, wet, and now sad. WTF, Tampa. Well, Tanner, I was gonna say, I hope you had a good time at the game, but evidently you did not.
God bless you,
at
Tanner.
least, hey, at least you can look back on this game and say, I got to see. I don't know if you've been to games before. I don't know if that was your first game, but at least you can say, I got to see Tom Brady play live. You don't have to tell anyone what the score was or how the game went, but you could say, I saw Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time, live in person in a game. So positive spin zone. But... trying to spin it, but there you go.
Yeah.
Buck
Daddy, I could see it. Steve Wilks, credit to him. You know, what a great job by Wilks so far to go 4-4 down the stretch here and put the Panthers in position to possibly win this thing. Listen, if they come in and beat Tampa in 2 weeks at Raymond James Stadium, it's
a wrap.
You know, and it comes down to that last week. Yeah, it very well could be a wrap depending on what the Bucs do between now and then. Scott, what makes you think Bowles can hire a good offensive coordinator? He has shown nothing that says he can make a good decision as a head coach. I don't think the decision is going to be totally him. I think Jason Light will have some input there. It'll be a joint decision. And we'll see. The guy that I would like to see in the OC spot next year is Todd Monken, the Georgia offensive coordinator.
Talked about that last
record
episode.
saying that. Yep. So, you know, and Bowles does know Monken. Bowles' son, Troy, is going to be a linebacker at Georgia next year. Bowles has, you know, been to Georgia. He knows Kirby Smart and during the pro days and you know, all those circuits. Todd Monken, I know, has some friends in the building from his first stint here as a quarterbacks, or actually a wide receivers coach, and you know, and certainly the offensive coordinator for a couple games when Dirk Cutter was the head coach. I remember that season opening win at New Orleans. It was a 48-40 when Ryan Fitzpatrick came out bombs away. Yeah, that was that
might have been like my first game with Pewter Report.
That was the Todd Monken called game. You know,
yes, that was. Remember that was the whole back and forth. Like, is Todd going to call the plays? Is Dirk Cutter going to call the plays? And it, like, kept going back and forth. There was a constant like, will they, won't they? Who's going to?
I prefer when Todd calls the plays, and he's done very well at Georgia. So we'll see. I mean,
by the way, what a trade, or what a barter going on. Todd Bowles like, all right, Georgia, my son's going to play for you guys, but I'm taking your offensive coordinator, and he's going to be my offensive coordinator. That's quite the trade right there.
I would like that. Yep. Let's see here. Teddy, the return, and 2, Thompson's looks like an improvement on punt return. So I like that. Haven't written mine yet, but I'm definitely thinking about using that. Listen, Devin Thompkins, what a fantastic game from him. And in one game, he looks like a huge upgrade over Jalen Darden. He broke more tackles, slipped more tackles, showed more heart than Jalen Darden ever did. Yeah, and it was awesome.
Physical, and like he had the big run to start the third quarter, got to about midfield, and that was awesome because I was saying earlier, you know, he had some returns, didn't go crazy far, but he was willing to take on the contact and go up the middle. And you know what? He was like breaking tackles, but the Bucs didn't do a good job of blocking. So he broke 2, but there was another 4 defenders on him that would take him down. But I said, if he keeps doing that, eventually, might not even be this game, but eventually he's going to break one. And he essentially did with that run to midfield to start the third quarter. So kudos to him, you know, for showing that he could be the future returner for this team after this season. I mean, who knows? We don't even know what coaching staff will be here or anything like that. But first game, nicely done by Devin Thompkins in his role as the returner. Hey, speaking of kudos, cheers. You know, those are in similar categories. You cheers with a drink. You should be cheersing with a Pirate Republic drink, the official beer of PewterReport.com and the Pewter Report podcast. They are based out of the Nassau, Bahamas. They're invading Florida just in time for football season. Beer brings people together to celebrate life. That means celebrating life in the spirit of the original pirate code. That's a sense of belonging. They have 3 different beers that you can get here in the States right now and the state of Florida. The Long John Pilsner is perfect for tailgating or having fun at the beach in the Florida sun. That's the red can. Then you have the Take No Quarter IPA. That's the green can. It's the best IPA that you'll drink, and there's 7.2% of alcohol in it. So you can kind of be one and done if that's your choice.
Yeah, right.
And then last but certainly not least, you can drop an orange slice in the golden haze of piracy Belgian wit beer and enjoy that pirate life. Pirate Republic beer is available at participating retailers like Total Wine and More, Lugan's Liquors, Party Liquors, and select ABC liquor stores in the greater Tampa Bay area. They're expanding across the state of Florida. I get my Pirate Republic beer at ABC Liquors. So live life on your terms and drink like a pirate with Pirate Republic beer, the official beer of pewterreport.com and the Pewter Report podcast.
Kevin L says, Scott, I told you not to talk yourself into the Bucs winning, only get yourself hurt. That's a fact. I'm beaten and bruised, not as bad as the Buccaneers, but yeah, stupid by me to think that was the case. Dumb of me to think Tom Brady was going to win this game. Oh, man. We've seen him have some of these games, right? He didn't play well against the Patriots in his homecoming game there.
No, he didn't.
And, this wasn't just Tom Brady, folks. This was a total team ass kicking, as Todd Bowles said, got our asses kicked as the coaching staff, as the players on offense, defense, etc. This was bad all the way around. Yeah, not good.
And the defense started dropping like flies too. Jamel Dean left with the toe injury. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka left with the hip injury.
What's happened to Jamel Dean? He's played some awful football.
Yeah. Vita Vea left with a calf injury very early in the game. And I was saying this before too. Like Greg Allman had tweeted this out that we're all talking about Tom Brady homecoming game. Vita Vea's high school was 9 miles away from Levi Stadium. So this is very much a homecoming game for Vita Vea as well. And unfortunately, he didn't really get to perform. And the 49ers took full advantage of that. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, his first 4 rushes of the game, 3 of them were for 10+ yards. Even late in the game when Josh Johnson was in and they had Mason, the running back, in, he ran with no issue at all. So, I mean, I still would blame the offense more than the defense for what went on today. But the defense.
But it was both.
The defense had, I think, their second worst game. Maybe even their worst game. Obviously, the Chiefs game comes to mind with
the Ravens game too was really bad.
Ravens game was bad for a second half for sure.
Yeah, you group this together. The second half of the Ravens game, this 49ers game, the Chiefs game, all 3 of those really, really bad performances. Leo with the super chat. We appreciate
Thank you, Leo.
Super chats. Thank you all. $2. Bowles' chances of getting fired increase now. I think what has to happen for Todd Bowles to go is they have to lose the next 4 games. I think if this team finishes 6-11, right? That's what they would be, 6-11. Losing what has been at least a 1-game lead all year long, right, in the NFC South division, that would be bad, especially with Tom Brady. Everything I'm hearing, though, is because the offense has been so pathetic this year that they're going to be making some changes probably on the offensive side of the ball, and then we'll see. The defense, for the most part this year, has played reasonably well.
Yes,
has not been dominant. They've slipped it against the run. They still have a hard time getting takeaways. The playmakers in this team have just not made as many plays. Carlton Davis, no interceptions? Still,
and he's had a couple, not this game specifically, but he's had games where he could have came away with a pick and just didn't.
So no interceptions from him, no interceptions for Lavonte, no interceptions for Devin White. Those are 3 big time playmakers making a lot of money. Anton Winfield has been hurt a lot this year. Jamel Dean started off the year strong and has absolutely faded. Mike Edwards has not played anywhere close to the level of Jordan Whitehead.
No.
Joe Tryon-Shoyinka has been a disappointment. There's some growing concern with him within the organization that, he may not pan out. We'll see.
Honestly, and the pass rush in general wasn't there today, even when they did blitz again outside of the first play of the game with Keanu Neal.
Yeah.
No one on the pass rush is showing up besides Carl Nassib. I think, once again, Carl Nassib was probably the best defensive tackle in the game. Anthony Nelson got robbed of an interception, but, that's him dropping back in coverage. I'm not going to rely on him
I think
too
Nelly
much.
played pretty well. I think he had 7 tackles in the game. I think both he and Carl played well.
He had a much better game than he had previously. And again, the lack of turnovers, the only turnover the Bucs got today is because Deebo Samuel had to get carted off after an ankle injury. Deebo Samuel, and I feel terrible for him because that looked like a bad injury. It looked like they said he had a high ankle sprain. He only fumbled that because he got really hurt on the play. It wasn't like someone knocked the ball loose. That was an injury, drop the ball type of play. So once again, the Bucs get a favorable turnover that they probably didn't necessarily deserve. Brian here with the $4.99 super chat. Thank you, Brian. I better not see any 2022 NFC South champ shirts in public. That would be a waste of money. I'm not trying to take money out of the Bucs pockets, but I never understood why fans would buy like division champ or this type of champ. Like, I don't know. Unless I can understand NFC champion or AFC champion, but I don't know. Seems like,
I mean, really all that means is you lost the Super Bowl, right? If you're sporting that around,
like, who has a 2021 Bucs NFC South Division champion shirt,
Right. Exactly. That's a fair point. Exactly. Matthew with another super chat here. Scary special teams coach. Wait this long to play Thompkins. Yeah. It's not just the special teams coach. It's the personnel. It's the coaching staff. They waited too long in this. I talked behind the scenes with some people that said that, they should have made this move earlier. And you know what? I think that's part of the problem with this entire coaching / personnel staff this year is they waited too long to pull Luke Gedeke out of the starting lineup for Nick Leverett. They waited too long to make the switch for Jalen Darden to Devin Thompkins. And if you remember, during the week, I told you who the kickoff return guy was going to be, and the punt return guy was going to be on Saturday. They made that move on Saturday. It was Devin Thompkins. I knew that. I just couldn't say it. But that's who was going to be the guy. And they're pretty excited about what this guy can do. And he's going to see some time on offense probably later towards the end of the season here. Not a whole bunch, but I mean, he might steal a couple snaps from Scotty Miller. It's such a shame for Scotty Miller because he got beat too he beat his guy.
He beat by like
Julio Jones beat his guy. Yeah, Tom Brady just could not get the ball down the field today to save his life. It was bad.
No, he couldn't. Hey, I saw another super chat in there, but first, let's hear a message from our friends at the Seminole Hard Rock Casino in Tampa.
Just the way you like it.
Me and my wife decided we'll have some fun. I was playing a 2-cent machine. 6 bets in, I hit a jackpot. $117,000.
Hi, my name is Tara, and I won over $500,000 playing slot. I do this full time, and I would not change it for the world.
I'm Gloria. I won over $2 million at Seminole Hard Rock Casino. I went and bought a bunch of jewelry.
My name is Mike, and I won over $350,000. I love playing baccarat because it is different. When you pull in that card and you flip over that 9, beating that 8, can't miss.
I'm Jimmy. I won $500,000 in a slot tournament at Seminole Hard Rock in Tampa. Even a blind squirrel can get a nut sometimes.
My name is Philip, and I won $215,000 on Blazing Sevens.
Put my last $40 on the table.
Next thing you know, bam, $215,000 jackpot. I hit that bad boy.
I didn't realize how much it would change my life.
You only live once. Have fun with it, right?
Anybody can win at Seminole Hard Rock in Tampa.
No, this weekend I was watching watching something on the TV, and the Seminole Hard Rock commercial came on, and I was like that gif of Leo pointing. I'm like, oh, like I know that commercial because we play it here. So check out the Seminole Hard Rock Casino in Tampa when you get a chance. Always a good time.
In that commercial, one of those guys says, even a blind squirrel can find the net sometimes. That's kind of like the Bucs offense finding the end zone, right, with a touchdown.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like
it really is.
It took a Chris Godwin, a deflected pass, drop, whatever you want to call it, to get into Russell Gage's arms at the 1 foot line. It looked to me too like his knee was down. I know they reviewed the play, Matt, and I think the refs just said, "Listen, we've called every stinking call." Against the Buccaneers today. Tom Brady got choked on one pass rush. He got clubbed in the back of the head. There's no calls whatsoever by the officials. I think the officials said, you know what? Technically, his knee was down. Gage's knee was down at like the 1 foot line. Screw, we're just going to give it to him. I mean, these guys, they're not going to score otherwise.
They were giving him such a hard time. It's like they finally reached the end zone. We're going to take 15 minutes to review this. And I was thinking, like, of course, they're going to give it to them on the 1 inch line, and they're not going to be able to score.
Yep.
Because that's the Bucs MO right there. Catamax with another super chat. Thank you, Catamax. This $5 super chat. Our D-line and O-line, parentheses injuries, are a combined nightmare. I'm afraid draft and free agency will not be enough to fix our D and O-lines. Well, the offensive line, again, dealing with injuries. No Ryan Jensen, no Tristan Wirfs, and subpar play from Donovan Smith. So I think the offensive line in a perfect world is a little easier to be fixed. You just need the guys to get healthy. I don't think you're necessarily going to see that this year. I mean, Ryan Jensen, if anyone's holding out hope that he's going to return, I mean, I'm certainly not. If he shows up, he shows up, but I'm not really, I'm not looking at that as he's going to be the guy that kicks everything into high gear for the Bucs.
Yeah.
Defensively, I can see them getting younger. I mean, they obviously have Logan Hall, who's a rookie right now, but outside of that, Will Golston getting up there in football age a little bit. Nacho, a reserve player. Wouldn't be surprised if we see some changes to the D-line next season. Akeem Hicks, healthier now. We'll see if he can do that for the final stretch of the season.
Yeah, I don't know that Akeem Hicks by himself has been any sort of a difference maker whatsoever against the run or the pass. Has he helped the play of Vita Vea when Vea's been healthy? Probably, but Akeem Hicks, I don't think has been the difference maker at all that they expected him to be. He certainly hasn't been better than Ndamukong Suh. Now, if Ndamukong Suh had come back this year, would a 35-year-old Ndamukong Suh be better than last year's 34-year-old Ndamukong Suh? I don't know. It's hard to say. But the problem is the Bucs are going to be a little cap strapped this year, Matt.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to have to rely on another good draft and some of these draft picks that they've invested in to develop and play better, quite frankly, than they played this year. And I'm talking about guys like Logan Hall and JTS up front on that defensive line. And, we talked about the offensive line a little bit. It'll be interesting, right? When Ryan Jensen comes back next year, then you throw Robert Hainsey into the mix at left guard, Matt. You've got Nick Leverett, you've got Luke Gedeke, you've got Robert Hainsey. So you've got another option or two at that left guard position. If Gedeke, if he can improve and get better and re-enter that training camp mix as a much better product than he was as a rookie this year. Nick Leverett, I'm sure, wants to hang on to that job, and Robert Hainsey, I think, has played better than most have forecasted him to. He certainly has not been the problem up front, and maybe he's a better left guard than even Nick Leverett next year.
My only issue with Robert Hainsey today is some of his snaps were really pissing me off because they were like high and like Brady had the jump. But outside of that, let's remember Robert Hainsey was a guy that played tackle in college and then went to the Senior Bowl, never playing a guard position before, and said, I'll play guard. No big deal. I'm only playing for my NFL career in front of scouts and everyone else putting on this audition. And he showed no fear doing that. And that's partially why, not the whole reason why, but part of the reason why the Bucs drafted him, that he was so willing to be a versatile offensive player. So he could definitely be in the running for, a starting guard position next season. And then I think it'll really help the Bucs with their depth overall, because you got to remember, like Aaron Stinney, we'll see where he is next year, but he got injured in training camp. And if he's available, he's a guy that was starting on the offensive line when they won a Super Bowl. So, people get mad at the overall depth and like, why aren't they doing this or why aren't they doing that? Well, sometimes when you have so many injuries, you can only put up your hands and say, we did what we did. We did what we could, And when you have injuries to 2 starters on the offensive line, I don't know what else you can really do.
Yeah. Christopher Oxentine from Overland Park, Kansas, my old stomping grounds. Logan Hall and JTS are wasted picks on defense. I think it's way too early to say that. Defensive linemen, they can really take some time to develop. Sometimes you got these guys that come out of the gates, but they're far and few between. Logan Hall is going to be a different player when he puts 10 to 15 pounds on him. He's 290 pounds right now. I asked him the other day, and it's a struggle for him to kind of maintain that weight during football season. But at 305, I think he's going to be bigger, more stout at the point of attack, and hold up better in the run game. He'll be a different player. JTS.
Were the expectations too high for him? Because now he has to be the number one guy because Shaq got hurt. So JTS became the de facto guy.
Yeah,
he's coming into a season where it's his first time being the full-time starter because he was used rotationally last year.
Right.
I'm just asking, were the expectations too high?
I don't think they were too high because, I mean, it was his time. He's a first-round pick. I mean, he's the number 32 pick, but he's still a first-rounder. And he's got all the athleticism in the world. He wants it. He tries hard. He's very athletic. He hustles. It's a technique thing. And he literally played 1.5 seasons at Washington. Didn't play during the COVID year, but it wasn't even that big of a deal because the Pac-12 that year, Matt, they only played 4 games during COVID. I mean, the SEC played all their games. In the South, they're like, screw COVID. We don't care. We're playing football, damn it. It wasn't the case on the West Coast. They were a little bit more sensitive to that, and they only played 4 games. JTS sat out those 4 games. And then last year, he was playing left end, right end, nickel rusher inside, and I just think he's a work in progress. The tools are there. Will he be able to put it all together? I don't know, and I don't think this staff knows quite yet. But next year is going to be a big year for JTS. I expected more than 3.5 sacks from him right now. I'll just say that, and I think this organization did too. So we'll see. He has 2 more years under contract, 3 more if they pick up the 5th-year option. Again, the tools are there. We'll see.
No, you're right. I think everyone would have thought he would have had 3.5 more than 3.5 sacks on the season. And next year's going to be huge for him because the training gloves will officially be off at this point. And just to comment real quick on Logan Hall, as you said, it's way too early. I think we got to understand that not every rookie comes out of the gates and is spectacular. We got spoiled with like Antoine Winfield Jr. and Tristan Wirfs, where they were incredible right away. But, you got to remember guys like Vita Vea weren't the top dog when they first, got into the league and were a rookie. Some guys, it takes a little more time to develop. And I think that's the case with Logan Hall right now. He's not even getting a lot of playing time. So you can't say like, oh, well, why isn't he doing this? Well, he gets like 12 snaps a game. It's really tough to, be a true like credible player in those type of situations.
Let's see. Move Wirfs to left tackle. That's something that obviously it bears watching for next season, not this year, but for next year. I still think that this team is hopeful that Donovan Smith, he's dealing with a lot of personal issues. I tweeted this out during the game, though. At the same time, man, so was Tom Brady, right? Going through a divorce, and you got to be able to compartmentalize and do your job at some point. I mean, you have a job, and it's kind of year round. But Matt, honestly, it's 17 Sundays, right? It's in a Monday, but I mean in a Thursday. But it's 17 days. 17 days out of the year. This team really needs you to show the what up. The what up. And you got to be able to block that crap out for 3 hours and focus and do your job. There's a lot of people counting on you, man. You play a very important position. And if you can't play that well, if you can't play up to your standard and what this team expects you to play, and you're going to let your technique slip, then honestly, just tell the team, I'm opting out this week, and put Brandon Walton in there and see what he can do. Because I know Brandon Walton wants it. And I very disappointed in Donovan Smith. I feel bad for some of the stuff he's going through. It's really difficult stuff, but at the same time, man, it's 3 hours. This team needs you for 3 hours once a week. And you got to block that stuff out and show up. There's a lot of people around this world going through the same stuff that Donovan Smith's going through. They still show up and do their job and do it damn well. And some of them are in the armed forces. Some of them are in the police. Some of them are frontline, doctors and nurses and paramedics and people that do way more important things to cover football for a living or even play football. I'll just say that. He needs to play better or just not play at all.
Yeah, and I'm not going to tell him how to feel or what he should do, but I almost feel like sometimes if you got some personal stuff going on, like playing in the game or for fans like watching the game, it's almost like a needed distraction from whatever else is going on.
Yeah,
that's all.
what
That's
I'm
all I'll
saying.
say about that
Yeah.
because
Compartmentalize it, man. Make the football your sanctuary and play better.
Yeah, hopefully Donovan can rejuvenate his game a little bit down the stretch because the Bucs absolutely unequivocally will need him. And so let's hear a message from our friends at Age Rejuvenation.
As we age, our hormones decrease, both for men and women.
I was tired all the time, had no sex drive.
I was groggy.
I felt like I was 80 years old because everything hurt.
I came to Age Rejuvenation because I was tired all the time.
Bioidentical hormones has really made such an impact in people's lives.
I actually enjoy shopping now.
Got all my energy back.
Mind is sharp.
I feel like I'm 18 again.
It was perfect for me.
Get with Age Rejuvenation. Do it now. Don't wait.
Call Age Rejuvenation today.
Watching these Buccaneers every week, I feel like I'm aging rapidly. I just am. They're like literally taking years off my life. But thankfully, Age Rejuvenation, with the Age Rejuvenation, I can fight back. John Gilmore, retired Buccaneer tight end, good friend of mine, good friend of our program here, he's been doing Age Rejuvenation for over a year now. I'm about 6 months in, and it's made a world of difference for me. I turned 50. John only turned 43. I feel jealous. John's younger than I am, but John feels like he can still play in the NFL, even at age 43. I know I can't play any type of sports anymore at 50, but I do feel younger. I feel like I'm 40. I feel like I want to play. Let's put it that way. I know I can't, but I feel like I want to. And I didn't feel that way until I went to Age Rejuvenation. And I found out I had low testosterone. Like most men in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, I had low energy. I was dragging during the middle of the day, having to crush another Celsius 2 a day just to get through. And then what? To fall asleep on the couch at 9 o'clock at night watching TV. Felt like a damn loser. If this is happening to you, if you don't have the energy, the stamina, the go-getting type of mentality that you used to have, go to agerejuvenation.com. Sign up for a free consultation. They'll do your blood work. Insurance will pay for it. You might have low testosterone. If you do, fight it with the testosterone therapy. Give the gift of health to yourself this holiday season. agerejuvenation.com. They have 5 Tampa Bay area locations to serve you. I should have done this years ago. Don't wait. Put yourself first. Put your health first with Age Rejuvenation this holiday season.
Make sure you check it out. Would be a great gift for yourself or for someone else too. Before we get out of here, one thing I want to talk about too, since we talk a lot about offense, defense, special teams with Devin Thompkins. Another theme, especially in the past couple of weeks of the season, it's just been game management and coaching tactics. And I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about, we said that he could have been the MVP of the team this season, but Ryan Succop's shank of a 55-yarder, the whole thing, how it went down, where it was like they were going to go for it, then they wasted a timeout, or they had Succop out on the field and then called the timeout, decided to stick with it.
I think time was running down, right?
Right.
They made the call late to go with it.
Well, then that plays into it, making the late call. Then it's a 55-yarder, which would have been a career best for Ryan Succop in a game where it was like windy, and I think people were saying that like 51 may have been like the limit for him. Like, what was going on with that decision there? Like, that just goes into the bad game management that Todd Bowles has had for
it does
multiple weeks.
It was a bad call. I'm not going to defend it. I think the reason why he did it, I wouldn't have done it. I would have punted, but I think the reason why he did it was because he knows this offense is sucks and is terrible, and he's going to try to get as many points as he can now. He's heard the cries from the masses about just going for it, trying to get points, trying to do anything you can to help your offense out, and it probably wasn't the right call, but I think that's what he did. He'd said, let's just try to get some points here, maybe get some momentum, but it didn't work out. And a lot of his game management calls haven't really worked out this year. Williams, this is interesting. He says Leftwich just calls plays. He doesn't figure out what defenses are trying to do and exploit coverages. He literally just calls random plays. And I'm going to tell you, that's exactly what he does.
It seems like it. He doesn't.
I've heard that.
He doesn't take advantage of weaknesses of the other team.
Nope. I've heard that within the building. I'll just leave it.
Yeah,
at that.
that's a huge problem.
That's exactly what he does. Yeah, it is. It's a huge problem. This offense is so bad that like you have no idea how bad it is. You think it's bad because you watch it. It's bad. It's awful. And I can't really say anything more than that. Just watch. Just watch.
Yeah.
Just watch.
Yeah. I think we should end it on that note, just to watch, ladies and gentlemen. But we appreciate everyone that stayed for this. We know it's late at night and the game was terrible for the Bucs, but we love all of our Pewter people. Just a reminder, we're going to have the Pewter Tailgate Show and the Pewter Game Day Show next
it's
week.
Wrong times.
It's the wrong time. That's all right.
Sorry about that. That's my bad.
Yeah, the Bucs play later against the Bengals. It's a 4:00 game or 4:25. So we'll have the Pewter Tailgate Show live from Walk-Ons at 2:30. Yeah, and the game will be on a 4:25 live in-game and analysis, just like we did today. And I don't think the game could be as bad as it was today. So we always have fun regardless. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see if the Bucs can top themselves.
It could be really bad. The reason why I thought this was a 1:00 game, and I think it's the Panthers game, the home game against the Panthers, it's 1:00. But the reason why I think in my mind I thought the Bengals game was 1:00 was because I wanted to get over with as soon as possible.
I hear you.
My evening. It just ruins my day, not my evening. And I think that's why I had it that way.
I don't blame you at all. And if you like our coverage at pewterreport.com, give us a follow and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our social media on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook is at Pewter Report, and our YouTube channel is at Pewter Report TV. If you like our podcast, our live streams of the various videos that we put up on our YouTube channel, would really appreciate if you guys could subscribe to that. Cost you absolutely nothing. It's just a quick heads up of, hey, Pewter Report is either going live or they put out some new content. So would really appreciate if you guys could do that. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the Bucs season, which hopefully will be in the playoffs, hopefully the Super Bowl. But I mean, let's be honest, the way that it's going,
that's not happening.
That's not going to be the case there. So would really appreciate if you guys could do that. And last bit of business, obviously this game was egregious, so I wanted to have some fun with everyone. And I asked people on the live stream and on Twitter to pick a song for the theme song for today's show. I narrowed it down to, based on various suggestions by people, I narrowed it down to Hurt by Johnny Cash, Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit, Bodies by Drowning Pool, or Symphony of Destruction by Megadeth.
I like Symphony of Destruction. That's good.
Yeah, so feel free to vote. It's a close race between Symphony of Destruction and Hurt. You have another 45 minutes if you want to vote on that. Would appreciate if you guys wanted to do that. And if you're listening to this on audio, you know what the winner was because you would have already heard the intro. So fear not. We will also be back tomorrow, 4:00, do some roll call, further dissect the aftermath of this debacle that was the Bucs 35-7 loss to the 49ers. But until then, enjoy some Pirate Republic as you watch the rest of this Sunday night game between the Dolphins and Chargers that has zero effect on the Bucs, but we love football in general. So until tomorrow, for Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thank you, everybody, for watching and listening, and we will see you tomorrow for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.
Roll call tomorrow, 4:20.
Roll call.